Hi everyone, welcome to Topic 5. Topic 5, we're going to be covering chapters 24 and 28. It's going to be over inflation and unemployment. You have the Topic 5 quiz right here. Topic 5 quiz will be covering those chapters as well. I have some interesting different videos posted here for your review. But let's go over some of the concepts in Chapter 28. In Chapter 28, we're going to be looking at the importance of unemployment. Unemployment is a very important concept because we're focused on the amount of people that are unemployed out of the labor force. And when we look at the labor force, there's going to be three types of individuals: people that are employed, people that are unemployed, and people that are not in the labor force. People that are employed is anyone that is at least 16 years or older who's actively seeking a job. Anyone that's unemployed is anyone that's working at least 4 hours per week. And anyone that's not in the labor force are people that are not looking for a job, that don't want a job, or people that stay at home, people that are retired. Those are people not in the labor force. When we look at the labor force statistics, we're looking at the unemployment rate. To calculate the unemployment rate, it's the number of people that are unemployed divided by the labor force. Currently in the U.S., our unemployment rate is around 5.1%, which means 5.1% of people in the labor force are unemployed. That's the key. People in the labor force are unemployed. Now we look at the labor force participation rate. We're focusing on how many people are participating in the labor force compared to the adult population. So that's a little bit different. How many people out of the labor force are participating, either unemployed or employed, out of the labor force? So now, if we calculate the labor force statistics, here's the numbers of the people that are employed, unemployed, and not in the labor force. Here's the amount of people in the labor force, 153 million. The unemployment rate from this calculation, from when this was done, is the amount of people unemployed, which is 13.7 million, divided by 154 million, which is about 9%. Now, the amount of population is 240 million. Now, to find the labor force participation rate, it's about 153 million divided by 239 million. So 64% of the adult population, or the population, is participating in the labor force. That's what that's keying in on. That's what it's telling us. And where you find this more important is when you look at the different statistics of men and women that are participating. Now, labor force statistics for different groups. There's many different groups that we're going to focus on, and when we look at these different groups, they bring about different challenges. And you can look at labor force participation rates and the unemployment rates between gender, between race, and that is something that we can key in on, in age as well. One of the key things we look at is the labor force participation rates between gender. You notice there's been a large change between male participation rates declining steadily and female participation rates that have been increasing. And that's been very interesting to evaluate, because when you see these changes, you see that we have to make different assumptions. Why is this rate declining for males, and why is it increased dramatically for females? Those are some things that we can evaluate with these different rates that we're evaluating. So some of the limitations of the unemployment rate, if I give you three different instances here, and you're going to tell me what happens to the unemployment rate, and if it gives an accurate measure. The first one is Sue lost her job and begins looking for a new one. So now if Sue lost her job, she is classified as what? So let's look at each of these situations, and we'll go individually on them. So Sue loses her job, she begins looking for a new one. She was employed, now she's unemployed, so the unemployment rate will increase. So as a rising unemployment rate, that means the job market has worsened. Let's go to another one. John has been out of work since last year. becomes discouraged, stops looking for work. Now, in this instance, stops looking for work, so John really has not been having a job, so he was unemployed. Now he's not in the labor force. So he went from unemployed to not in the labor force. So the unemployment actually has decreased. And this gives us a strange impression of the economy, because when the unemployment rate decreases, we're thinking the economy is getting better. However, John actually stopped participating. Let's look at the next scenario. Sam lost his $80,000 job and takes part-time job at McDonald's until he finds a better one. So, lost his $80,000 job where he was employed, now works part-time at McDonald's where he's still employed. So he's classified as employed. Unemployment rate doesn't do anything. However, Sam is worse off. So that's a key thing to evaluate. So when we look at the unemployment rate, we're just measuring how many people in the labor force are not working. The challenge that we're facing with the unemployment rate is there's a lot of implications. And some of the implications we're focused on is it might not give us an accurate picture or description of the economy. And that's something that we have to really evaluate. When we look at these accurate descriptions, the economy is painting a picture of how things are. When the unemployment rate decreases, that's telling us that the economy is doing better. However, there could be a lot of people that have left the labor force. So those are some of the issues that we're focusing on when we look at the unemployment rate and the challenge we're facing. Now, if you have any questions on these concepts, please let me know, but make sure to focus on the slides in your development in your readings, and really focus on what additional resources are necessary, as I'm more than willing to assist.